This is a video from the great YouTuber AltShiftX. If you know Game of Thrones, you know who that is. And he is making a little introduction into House of Dragon. This is not a spoiler. And we're gonna watch this real quick. He's just doing introduction to the lore. I actually don't know this lore. I know the Blackfire Rebellion, right? But I don't know the lore here. We're gonna check this out, learn something about the show. Let's have some fun, man. Let's take a look, guys.
House of the Dragon is the new Game of Thrones prequel show. It's set 200 years before Game of Thrones, and it's
172 years.
About the Targaryen family.
Who's that girl? That girl? What? Who's that? I haven't seen her in the first episode. Who the fuck is that?
Daenerys Targaryen's ancestors, back when they ruled Westeros at the height of their power. This is a story of ambition and older.
Oh, is there going to be a time skip in the show? Oh, we're going to see an older version of her. Oh, we're going to do a time skip. Is that what you're saying? Ah, we're doing a time skip.
Betrayal and revenge, dragons, and a lot of really angry...
It was so fucking sick to see the old swordsman from... Dude, I was wondering. So, Aegon and his sisters were... He had Blackfire, one of the most legendary swords ever. Even though I think the most legendary sword ever is Dawn in the lore. We have Dark Sister, and... What was the other sword from the other girl? Something Lady. Something Lady. What was it? Dark Sister. So that's Visenya and Rhaenys. Rhaenys was wielding, and before she actually had no sword, man, I'm an idiot. They only had 2 swords. She never had the sword, man. There you go. Learning something. Dude, wait. The king has the dagger? No fucking way. Dude, that's the dagger he has. Wow. Thank you, Dutch guy. That's the dagger the king has. And he literally says... Oh, that's crazy. I didn't see that. There's no way we're gonna make that a thing. Yeah, Rhaenys wasn't warlike. She was more like she was fucking a lot and talked to artists and singers a lot.
Blonde people. The show is based on a book called Fire and Blood by George Martin. George co-created this show with Ryan Condal, and they say it's a faithful adaptation.
No wonder he doesn't finish the book, man. He's so busy doing TV, man. Why not?
Of the book.
Oh, yeah, it's
George has a nickname for House of the Dragon. He calls it Hot D. There are a bunch of new trailers and interviews out for Hot D, so what do they reveal, and what can we expect from the new show? This video has no spoilers, just introduces the characters and world.
Dude, he has the dagger, that's so crazy.
Quick history. The Targaryens are the royal dynasty.
God, I love this, man. I genuinely believe, like, coming from a gamer standpoint, gaming-wide, the saddest thing that ever happened to me in my life of gaming and as a streamer is that CK2 Game of Thrones crashed and got unplayable. I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, mean this, the saddest thing that ever happened to me. It was the greatest content, man. It was so fucking good. A lot of you guys don't know that stuff, but like 2 or 3 years ago, I was streaming Game of Thrones CK2, which was the greatest content ever.
Of Westeros.
I don't think there's a lot of
originally the Targaryens came from Valyria, the old empire of the Dragon Lords in the east.
Well, what a job these developers did back then.
Destroyed in the mysterious doom of Valyria, and the Targaryens were the only dragon riders to survive, because the Targaryens had...
They're not updating that anymore because they're working on CK3 Game of Thrones now.
Already left Valyria and settled on Dragonstone, an island off Westeros. Aegon Targaryen, with his sister wives and their dragons, conquered the 7 kingdoms, forged the Iron Throne,
Aegon
and
knew
became
about
the first
the White
king
Walkers,
of
man.
Westeros.
That is insane.
After him was King Aenys, then King Maegor, then King Jaehaerys, and in House of the Dragon, the king is Viserys Targaryen. The basic story in Hot D is that King Viserys wants his daughter, Princess Rhaenyra, to take the throne and rule after him. But some people have other plans for the throne, including the king's brother Daemon and the king's hand, Otto.
Chat, I just got massively excited for CK3 Game of Thrones. It's finally happening. I am... Mamma mia, man.
Otto's daughter, Alicent. But this conflict builds up slowly, with tensions rising over years and years. So Hot D occasionally jumps forward in time several years to show how the politics and relationships gradually change. Alicent and Rhaenyra are played by different actors.
Also nice to see House Hightower and Old Town and stuff, because the Hightowers are so important in the lore of Game of Thrones. You don't see them really in the TV show Game of Thrones, but the Hightowers are very rich, influential people, man.
Condal said this is a generational war. And the time span lets us fully understand these characters and their history before the first sword stroke falls. So, Viserys Targaryen...
Fucking Blackfire. The most legendary sword ever, man. Blackfire. the house of the sword of Aegon Targaryen. I feel like they could have done it even a bit more epic. Looks okay though, I guess. But that sword is so fucking massive. When is the last time? I have so many questions. I don't know if you guys know about this stuff, but when is the last time we see Blackfire? It's like lost forever, but when? What happened to the sword? In Game of Thrones, you don't see Blackfire, right? What happened to Blackfire? Let's Google. Dude, I want to have a little Game of Thrones stream for a sec. I'm waiting for Warmer anyway. The final wheeler was Aegor Rivers. What? So what happened to it? With Daemon and his twin sons dead at the Redgrass Field, Bittersteel took Blackfire with him in exile to the Free Cities. So it's probably in Essos. So Blackfire is somewhere like in Bravos or some shit, man.
Targaryen is king, and he inherited a peaceful and prosperous realm from Jaehaerys. So Viserys' reign became the apex of Targaryen power.
In the books, young Griff might get that?
Reflected in the size of the Iron Throne in Hot D. It's bigger and grander compared to how it looks in Game of Thrones. The new design is also closer to how the throne is described in the books.
Yeah, that's the book throne, man. Look at that shit. That's the book throne, dude. That looks so fucking sick, dude.
As a huge monstrosity
it's implied that young Griff gets it.
Forged from the swords of King Aegon's enemies. In Game of Thrones, dragons are almost extinct, but in Hot D, the Targaryens have lots of dragons, and that's how they dominate Westeros. Dragons are weapons of mass destruction. They're like the nuclear bombs of this world. And since only the Targaryens have dragons, no one can mess with them. When Viserys was younger, he rode the dragon Velaryon, the biggest dragon of all Targaryen dragon. But Velaryon soon died of old age, and Viserys hasn't ridden a dragon since. In a trailer, he calls dragons a power man should never have trifled with, like they're too dangerous to be controlled. Because King Viserys is a man of peace. He just wants everyone to get along and have a good time. Extinct. So he hosts feasts and balls and tournaments. He's popular with lords and common folk. Viserys is a good man. But being a good man doesn't make you a good king, and times of peace can sow the seeds of war. In a trailer, Viserys describes a dream of his heir and the throne and of dragons. In the books, many Targaryens have prophetic dragon dreams that can tell the future, but often these dreams are misinterpreted and lead to the dreamer's downfall. Aemon Targaryen says that his brothers once dreamed of dragons, and those dreams killed them, every one.
That's so fucking cool, man. You know, Game of Thrones is so fucking deep if you actually look into it, man. And Targaryens have a thing called dragon dreams, which is a prophecy. And they're always right, but they always get misinterpreted. It's so well done by George R. Martin that you have like a dream tomorrow, you will drive a Porsche. And then it's tomorrow, but you actually have a car crash and your corpse flies into a Porsche that is driving. Right? It's so fucking cool, man.
Dragon dreams can be a metaphor for ambition and the dangers of ambition. Viserys' actor, Paddy Considine, says that Viserys has an ego and he wants a legacy. There is a dragon in him. So nice Viserys is a complicated guy. Author George Martin said he's impressed with Considine's performance, giving Viserys a tragic majesty that he never had in the books.
George is very involved with
One of the biggest problems for Viserys is his brother, Prince Daemon Targaryen. Daemon is like the opposite of Viserys, because while Viserys is peaceful, Daemon is violent and impulsive. Actor Matt Smith said Daemon is there to cause...
Where do we know Matt Smith from? Matt Smith, he plays the king in The Crown? What does Matt Smith do? Where is he from? English actor? Yeah, that's English. What do you play, man? Doctor Who, The Crown, Morbius, A Night in Soho. Okay, I don't really know this guy too much. Okay, I don't know him too well.
Was chaos and piss people off. Daemon rides the red dragon Caraxes, called the Bloodworm, and Daemon's personality is reflected in his dragon's personality. Caraxes is like a huge rabid dog, volatile and chaotic.
Scary fuck, man.
There are at least 17 dragons in
Wow, look, they even know about all of them. I don't know any of them, though. So
story. Cool. And the showrunners say we'll meet 9 of them in Season 1. Ooh. Each dragon has a distinct personality, color, and look. Some of them are bearded, like tropical lizards. Caraxes is apparently a deformed dragon with a super long neck and extra wings on his hind legs. These unique designs contrast with the dragons in Game of Thrones, which were almost impossible to tell apart, despite their colorful descriptions in the books. Prince Daemon is a great warrior.
Dude, that
he
joust was
wields
so sick,
the
man.
legendary Valyrian steel sword, Dark Sister, once used by Queen Visenya, and
Visenya was
by
really
King
hot, man.
Maegor the Cruel. In the trailers, we see Daemon leading the city watch of King's Landing, called We Saw the Gold Cloaks in Game of Thrones, betraying Ned in Season 1, and buying
He's very much the size of
aphrodisiacs in Season 7.
That's Visenya's dragon. He's
Daemon is commander of the city watch, and he's the one who first gave the watch their gold cloaks and better armor. So Daemon is why they're now called Gold Cloaks. Daemon gets real enthusiastic about law enforcement, especially the part where you cut body parts off criminals. As commander of the watch, he's known as the Prince of the City, or Lord Fleabottom. Daemon has an estranged wife called Rhea Royce, who he hates and calls his
he's married to a girl in the Vale.
Daemon considers himself heir to the throne after Viserys, but Viserys doesn't want him on the throne because he's such a loose cannon. Daemon does sometimes seem like just a violent, villainous dickhead, but there are layers to him. From the books, he knows that? Sensitivity.
But he has, like,
deep down, despite their differences, Daemon and Viserys love each other, and what Daemon really wants is approval and recognition from his brother. The books say that Daemon is a hero and a villain, a rogue prince made of both light and darkness. Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen is Viserys' beloved only child, and he wants her to inherit his throne.
It must have sucked so much back then in the Middle Ages that you always needed a son. The fucking pressure, man. And then God says you can only have one wife, man.
He keeps her by his side at council,
the pressure
so
back
she can
then,
learn
dude.
politics.
Especially on
Rhaenyra is precocious, beautiful, and popular at court. Singers call her the realm's delight. Rhaenyra has been a dragon rider since age 7, bonded with the yellow dragon Syrax. We can see that Targaryens now use saddles to ride their dragons, which looks a lot more comfortable than Daenerys did, clinging to Drogon's
Makes sense. In the books, the girls actually put these scales in their vagina. True story. They put these scales in their vagina to bond with the dragon. True story.
Back in Game of Thrones.
True story.
In Hot D, the dragons are kept at this building called the Dragon Pit, and there's tradition around dragon eggs. Baby Targaryens often have dragon eggs put in their cribs.
What about the guys?
So that they
whatever you like, man, you know.
That hatch from them. The Targaryens have close relationships with their dragons, possibly too close historically. But Rhaenyra has that old-school Targaryen fiery personality. Her actor Emma Darcy says Rhaenyra has to learn when to dampen that fire and when to trust it. Rhaenyra has similarities to Daenerys. You can also compare Rhaenyra to Arya, with her rebellious and cheeky spirit, and her conflict against society's gender roles. In the patriarchal world of Westeros, many lords don't want a woman on the throne. There's
probably one Muppet on Twitter right now complaining about that, even though it's a fantasy world in the Middle Ages. There's probably a person complaining about this.
And the rules of succession prefer men to women. So Rhaenyra feels a constant battle with what it means to be a woman, and how her gender
the way they spoke
Valyrian
sounded actually very natural,
which is a similar theme to Cersei's story. Rhaenyra's best friend is Alicent Hightower, the daughter of the Hand of the King.
Dude, that guy is the crazy drug addict in Notting Hill with Hugh Grant, his roommate. Like, that was so crazy, man. What the fuck, dude?
Otto Hightower.
Does anyone know what I mean?
While Rhaenyra is rebellious, Alicent tends to follow the rules and do what's expected of a noble lady. Kinda like Sansa Stark. In Hot D, Alicent and Rhaenyra grow up together at court, and they're super close, like siblings,
which is a change
from the books. In the books, Alicent is older than Rhaenyra, and we don't know much about her childhood. The book, Fire and Blood, gives only a broad summary of these events, so it's up to the show, Hot D, to create much of the detail.
As long as George look over this is all canon, man. This is all real lore, man.
Alicent came to court with her father, Otto Hightower. As Hand of the King, Otto is the second most powerful person in Westeros, like how Ned Stark and Tywin Lannister were Hand of the King in Game of Thrones. Otto's family, the Hightowers, are one of the oldest and richest houses in Westeros.
I hope we see Old Town one day. Old Town is such a crazy cool city. I think even... Old Town is the second biggest city after King's Landing, right? Old Town is so legendary, man. And there's a crazy conspiracy theory about Old Town. You know, and this has never been addressed in the show, but in the books. In the books, George R. R. Martin is doing something. There's this little thing that George R. R. Martin does. All around the world, everywhere you go, there's this weird black stone. It's like a black stone. Nobody knows where it's from. It has a weird energy. It's unbreakable. And I think that the tower, right? The tower is made of that black stone. Until today, nobody knows where that stone is from. It's everywhere. There's like a wall in Essos and stuff, like a Chinese wall and shit. Nobody knows where that shit comes from. And like he's setting something up there, like some kind of
Old Town.
Something's going on there, dude.
Of the Citadel,
nobody knows.
And of the High Septon of the Faith of the Seven. The Hightowers tend to avoid war and gain power through trade and politics. In Hot D, the Lord of Old Town is Hobart Hightower. He rules the city, while his brother Otto is at court as Hand of the King.
The Black Stone!
Otto is a smart, strategic politician, a pragmatist and a manipulator. He's proud, ambitious, and ruthless, but he also struggles with his decisions. Otto loves his daughter Alicent, but they don't communicate well, and their relationship is complicated by politics. Otto hates Prince Daemon and wants to prevent him having power, so Otto and Daemon are always competing for influence over King Viserys. As well as the Hightowers, another important family is House Velaryon, led by Lord Corlys, the Sea Snake. Like the Targaryens, the Velaryons originally came from Valyria in the east, but unlike the Targaryens, the Velaryons aren't dragon riders. Instead, they love sailing and have a powerful fleet of ships. They're based on Driftmark, an island near Dragonstone and King's Landing.
We were there, man,
and they've long been close allies of the Targaryens, ruling the seas, while the Targaryens on their dragons rule the skies. Lord Corlys Velaryon is a famous adventurer and explorer. He's sailed to far distant places like Karth, Yee and Ashai. By trading with these exotic places, Corlys has made the Velaryons the richest family in Westeros, even richer than the Lannisters and Hightowers.
Whatever your name is, man.
Corlys has seen the world and made a fortune, but he's still not satisfied. Corlys has great ambitions. He wants his wife to be queen, man. In Hot D, Corlys and his family are black, which is a change from the books. In the books, the Velaryons look much like the Targaryens, because the two families have been marrying each other for generations. The Targaryens like to keep their Valyrian dragon blood in the family, so when they don't marry a Velaryon, they usually marry their sister. So the Targaryens and Velaryons in the books are one big incestuous family of inbred blondes, while in Hot D they've changed the look. But the Velaryons still have silver hair, indicating the Valyrian blood that they share with the Targaryens.
That's important. 2022.
After Corlys's voyages across the world, he got married to Princess Rhaenys Targaryen. Rhaenys is a cousin of Viserys and Daemon. Rhaenys' mother was a Baratheon, so in the books, Rhaenys has black hair. Rhaenys is fierce and fearless, proud, smart, and capable. She's been a dragon rider since she was 13, riding Meleys, the Red Queen. When Rhaenys married Corlys, she arrived at the wedding on dragonback. Corlys said, "I came back from the ends of the earth for you." And Rhaenys said, "We can go back to the ends of the earth together, but I'll get there first, as I'll be flying." Rhaenys and Corlys have a deep love, and one of the more healthy relationships in the story. But Rhaenys and Corlys also have ambition and resentment.
You can see that in the first episode.
Rhaenys was the firstborn child of King Jaehaerys' firstborn son. So back in the day, many people saw Rhaenys as the rightful heir to the throne. But male rulers are preferred over women, so King Jaehaerys repeatedly passed over Rhaenys to make his second son Balon, and then Balon's son Viserys the heir instead. So Rhaenys is called the Queen Who Never Was. She and Corlys feel that her birthright and her children's birthright was taken from her, and this injustice hasn't been forgotten. Corlys and Rhaenys have two children, Laena and Laenor Velaryon. Laena is fiery and adventurous like her parents, and she rides Vhagar, the biggest and oldest dragon alive. Laenor rides.
Oh, she has Vhagar? Dude, that girl is no joke.
So those are the three important families in House of the Dragon. The Targaryens, with King Viserys, his daughter Rhaenyra, and brother Daemon. The Hightowers, with Otto and his daughter Alicent. And the Velaryons, with Corlys, his wife Rhaenys, and their kids Laena and Laenor. But there are a few other important characters at court. Criston Cole is not a prince or a lord from a great house. He's the son of a steward. But he is a talented fighter, and he's dangerously attractive, a favourite of all the ladies at court. Mysaria is a woman from a brothel in Lys. In the books, she's described as a very pale older woman, sometimes called Misery, the White Worm.
A very pale older woman.
Mysaria is a lover and trusted confidant of Prince Daemon. In Hot D, she's described as a survivor with street smarts and ambition. Lionel Strong is the Lord of Harrenhal, that giant half-ruined...
I was wondering, what is House Strong? Yeah,
Harrenhal in the Riverlands. Lionel serves on King Viserys.
But you have to understand, though, that being the Lord of Harrenhal is kind of like a meme, because Harrenhal has been burned and is cursed. So everyone who rules Harrenhal is kind of like a meme. He's kind of like an idiot.
His council as the Master of Laws.
But I don't know how
He's a big man with a reputation as a warrior, and some people assume that he's a dumb brute. But Lionel is very intelligent, having studied at the Citadel. He brings his sons Harwin Breakbones and Larys the Clubfoot to court. This guy is Grand Maester Melos. He advises the king
already burned.
as
Harrenhal gets burned by Aegon the Conqueror.
Of the Maesters, like
right?
Grand Maester
Yeah, Aegon the Conqueror burns Harrenhal.
Thrones. Melos is described as a voice for peace, urging calm and compromise, and he's a trusted friend of King Viserys. Maesters are meant to be unbiased servants, working for the good of the realm. But some characters in the books don't trust the Maesters. Tyrion says the gods
the Great Council was in Harrenhal at the beginning.
Conspiring
you can't still go to Harrenhal, but it's a burnt piece of shit.
Another
like Tywin is in Harrenhal in the TV show.
The words of the letters that they write and read for their lords. In Book 5, this guy Marwyn claims that for centuries the Maesters have secretly worked against the Targaryens to kill off all their dragons. There's no proof of any of this.
Makes sense. I always felt like when the Targaryens took Westeros, I would always think that the Westerosi are like, fuck these Targaryens, man. They took our home, but they have dragons. It makes sense that they will.
Crazy conspiracy theorist.
Fight a little bit.
But if we look closely, Hot D.
I think if I would live in this time, I would be anti-Targaryen because they're fucking occupiers, man.
Hints of the Maesters manipulating politics. Ultimately, it's the Maesters who write the history books, and in Fire and Blood, author George Martin plays with the idea of bias in historical sources. Because the main Game of Thrones books are novels, told from the point of view of the characters in the moment. But Fire and Blood is different. It's a fictional history book, written by an in-world historian
that's so cool.
called Archmaester
That's so
Gildain.
Cool, dude.
Gildain wrote Fire and Blood years after the events he's describing, so he relies on historical...
So even though this is a fictional book, right? It's a fictional story. It's still fake in itself to be more realistic, like a real history book. I think that's so sick, dude.
That are sometimes contradictory. Shit. Two of his main sources for the story of Hot D are a Septon called Eustace and a dwarf jester called Mushroom. While Eustace's version of the story is very proper and straightforward, Mushroom's version is full of bloody murder and secret, scandalous sex. And it's up to the reader to decide whose version of the story is
fake
true.
History book.
Hot D can only show one version of events. It'll be the objective account of what really happened. But we can compare Hot D to the stories in Fire and Blood to see if Eustace was right, or if Mushroom's scandalous tales are true. One of the problems with the Game of Thrones show was that the book series it's based on isn't finished. Thrones ran out of books to adapt in season 5.
And then got ultra shit, man. The moment these Hollywood assholes had to do their own shit without George R. Martin, they fucked it up completely, man.
The show started getting worse.
The bad pussy. The finger in the bum.
Because I have voles.
Danny kind of forgot it.
I don't want it. Then brand the broken.
That hurts so deep. More than 1 million fans demand Season 8 remake. Oh, that hurts. Painful, dude.
Fortunately, Hot D is different because the book that it's based on, Fire and Blood, tells the full story
monumental
of this
fuck up, dude. That will be on their resume forever.
So
Dan and
this
Dave
time,
can suck
the writers know where
fucking
they're going.
Bitches.
And George Martin is much more involved in Hot D than he was in the last seasons of Thrones. Hot D is a fantasy, but it's not about black and white heroes and villains. Author George Martin loves grey characters who have both good and evil.
That is good storytelling, dude.
Like, in Game of Thrones, the Starks are mostly heroic and the Lannisters are mostly villainous, but they're complicated, right? Hot D is even more morally ambiguous. Viewers will have different opinions about who the heroes and the villains are in this story. These are complex,
that's why it's such good storytelling,
characters who hurt each other in spectacularly messy ways. There'll be high drama, cheating, lies, revenge, dark, turbulent, bloody doings. And we'll cover it all with videos each week, so like and subscribe.
I'm excited. It looks cool, man. I'm in, dude. Brother, congratulations. You watched the video till the end. How about you check this video out too? You're already here. Check it out.